Hey everybody, so I'm gonna go over the benchmark really quickly. Um, so the learning target for the benchmark is to write a paragraph evaluating the effectiveness of Ataturk as a leader. So I've asked you this question a few times last week as we were going over, um, learning about Ataturk and learning about Turkey. Um, so I really want you to think now, based on your own opinion, right, and based on what you've learned, was he an effective leader, right? So the outcomes that we're going to focus on are writing, organization, vocabulary, and analysis, okay? So here is your writing prompt. Was Kemal Ataturk an effective leader? And you're going to write a paragraph addressing the writing prompt. So I'm just going to go over the bullet points for what you need to do for the paragraph. So I want your paragraph to include a topic sentence, right? Include a topic sentence that addresses the prompt. This is your claim. Introduce background information, right? So remember, you're pretending as if, even though I'm the one reading this, right? You want to act as if the person who's reading this knows nothing about what you're talking about. They don't know who Kemal Ataturk is. They don't know what an effective leader is, right? I know that you know these things, so I want you to be able to explain these things in your paragraph, right? So give me some background information. Who is Kemal Ataturk? What is the definition of an effective leader, right? What does that look like? Then you're going to include at least 2 pieces of evidence from the documents that we looked at last week, okay? So I included these documents. I'm going to scroll down there on page 4, right? These are all documents that you guys looked at and analyzed last week. So nothing here is new information, but you want to think about what your argument is and which documents would best be used to support your arguments, right? So don't look at the documents yet, right? Think about your arguments first, right? Think about what you're going to say, like what reasoning, what you're going to use to support your claim, and then find evidence to support that. Okay, and all of that is down here. I put all 5 documents that we looked at last week. If you need help on how to introduce textual evidence, so let's say you don't just plug in evidence, right? I included this link here, right, which is just a quick little image that kind of shows you how to include evidence, right? So the text says, right, based on whatever the source is, one point made in source blank is, I want you to use the ones that have the red source box, because this text, we're not just looking at one piece of text, right? We're looking at different pieces of text. So I want to know, make it clear to me which piece of text you're talking about, right? So for example, if I'm talking about this document, right, you would say, based on, isn't modernizing a nation a serious business, by Eric Laurer, right, because it has the source right here, right? Or maybe I want to say, use number 1, based on Peters Mansfield, A History in the Middle East, or according to Mansfield, right? So really try to identify whatever document you're talking about, if it has a source, right? If you're using a timeline, based on the timeline in the document. So make sure that you kind of give a name to whatever it is that you are discussing, right? And then for the why does it matter part, right? So we're asking our question like, so what? So I gave this evidence, but so what, right? This proves or this supports, right? This confirms, this information shows, right? How does this evidence support your claim? All right, and you want to also use reasoning, right? So we kind of went over that. Use reasoning. You don't just plop your evidence in there and just go on to the next thing. You want to give a detailed explanation on how your evidence supports the claim. You also want to make sure that you're using vocabulary from this unit. Okay, so these are the vocabulary terms that we went over last week. So we have secularism, we have westernization, we have nationalism, and we have Islam, right? If you need a refresher on what these terms are, what they mean, right, you can very easily look them up, right, to kind of refresh your memory. Or if you want to see them in the context that we use them, you can always go back to the lesson, right? So let's say I want to know what secularism is, right? Here's a little Google Docs trick. You can highlight the word, double click or right click on it rather, And then click define secularism, and it will come up on the side, right? So Google Docs has a dictionary built into it. And let's say you want to look up examples of secularism, you can hit explore secularism, right? Let's say you're not able to right click, you don't know how to do it, right? It tells you that you can hit Command, Option, Shift, plus I in order to get there, all right? I included, also have to outline. Outlining is part of your grade, okay? So this is the rubric that I'm going to be using to grade you. So I'm going to make sure that you have your claim, you have evidence, you're using the vocabulary, you have an SPO, and you have reasoning, which we are calling analysis, okay? Real quick, I want you to, just to make sure that you've looked at this, I want you to tell me what do you think will be easy about getting an E, and what do you think will be difficult about getting an E. Here's where your outline will go. Once you're done writing your outline, remember, your topic sentence should be in complete sentences. Your concluding sentence should be a complete sentence. These details, if you need to add more, you can, but these details here should be in note format, right? And when you're writing them out, just because you have 4 supporting details, or let's say you have 5 supporting details, just because you have that number of supporting details doesn't mean that it's going to equal the number of sentences, right? So these 4 supporting details should equal at least 7 sentences. And then here's where your paragraph goes, okay? Once you're done writing your paragraph, I included the outline again, the rubric again, so that you don't have to scroll up. And I want you to grade yourself, right? So let's say that you feel like you did an E on your claim, but you got an M on your vocabulary, right? And your evidence, and you got an E for your SPO and your reasoning, right? If you got 3 out of the 5 and it's an E, that's what your grade will be, right? But I'm going to grade you based on outcomes, remember, okay? So remember that. Documents are at the bottom. If you have any questions, you can email me or comment on the assignment. Later.